Palovo on the drum. Yeah.
Development and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director O'Halloran,
Present.
Director Peterson,
Present.
Director Phillips,
Present.
Director Simpson,
Present.
and Chair Baez.
Present. And welcome President Miller. I see you. on
And
the
we
screen.
also have President Miller joining the committee. We have 5 committee members present.
The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please make sure your devices are muted to avoid digital interference.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas noches. Esta junta se transmitirá en español para las personas que lo requieran. Si usted requiere escuchar esta junta en español, por favor, marque al teléfono 312-626-6799 y marque el número de la junta 960-3084-2314. Le repito, si quiere escuchar esta junta en español, marque al teléfono 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de la junta, que es el número 960-3084-2314. Gracias.
Gracias. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. Individuals who wish to speak on tonight's items were required to register in advance. I ask those who are waiting to speak to remain on the platform until you're called upon to speak. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Orders dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests are to be directed towards the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. All speakers are asked to state their name and spell their last name before proceeding with their comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to speak. After a speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting on one of the broadcast options mentioned. To ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind, including inappropriate language, will not be tolerated. The chair reserves the right to remove anyone engaging in such behavior from the platform. Those removed from the platform may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to rejoin the platform. Written testimony may be submitted to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting esb.milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Now let's begin, Madam Secretary. Item 1, please.
Item 1 is a report with possible action on post-secondary student data. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Does the administration wish to make any comments, please?
Yes, Chair Baez and members of the committee, Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. This evening, Dr. Melanie Stewart is with us to provide an overview of our post-secondary student data. Without further ado, I would ask Dr. Stewart to begin the presentation, and after which we'll be prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Stewart.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Baez, members of the committee. I'm Melanie Stewart, Director of Research Assessment and Data for the district. Before you, this presentation, we're going to begin with our 5 priorities of success. And this directly links to increasing our academic achievement and accountability for all of our students. So as we look at this presentation, we're going to begin with a little background on the National Student Clearinghouse. The National Student Clearinghouse provides education verification for students enrolling in universities and student outcomes such as graduations, earning certificates. The National Student Clearinghouse provides data for about post-secondary enrollment and graduation from over 3,000 colleges and universities. And hopefully in the future, they will also be providing military and job information. This data, the NSC works with over 11,000 high schools and represents nearly 60% of high school students across the country. About 18.3 million of our currently enrolled post-secondary students, 97%, are part of this database. So if they are going to a public or private institution, 99% of them are being accounted for in this data that we will look at. Over 94% of all degrees awarded in the U.S. are tracked by the National Student Clearinghouse. And our first data tonight. This is looking at our graduates of 2019. So any student, regardless of cohort, that graduated in 2019. We're looking at their enrollment the fall immediately after graduation. As you can see from the data, we have fairly consistent and stable data over a long period of time. We have slightly fewer going to two-year institutions and slightly more attending four-year institutions. If we look then at a broader period of time after the first year after graduation, we see during that first year an increase of 4% from the fall enrollments. Looking at the graduating class of 2018, now we look to see how many of those students enrolled anytime in 2 years after graduation. And we see an increase of 10% from the fall immediately after graduation. So as time passes, more students are choosing to attend post-secondary education. Persistence is also important. And if we look at this, we can see that our students that go to four-year institutions persist or return at a percent of 80% in the second year. Now, our two-year institutions, we have to look at that and understand that data a little bit better because it looks like far fewer, only 50% of students return after 2 years. What this does not account for is our two-year institutions that have certificate programs that may be a year long. Year-long programs that just are a year long without a certificate. Students transferring to four-year universities. So while there are a lower percentage, we also have to understand this data is that students may not need to attend during that second year. So as we look at the stability of our data, the one thing that we have talked about internally is how do we improve this? How do we get those percentages to increase? One of the things we believe is by preparing students for post-secondary. And one of the exciting pieces of data I have tonight is that in the 2019-20 school year, we had 682 students took 1,281 dual enrollment semester courses. They were taking courses that earned them college credit while they were still here in our schools. If we looked at the MQ program for first semester, 476 credits were earned. So if we looked at the students that were in that program, 100% at least earned 3 credits, 95% earned at least 6 credits, and 76% earned 10 credits. We have nearly that same amount in second semester. 98% earned 3, 86% earned 6, and 75 earn 9 or 10 credits. So this is really preparing students for post-secondary before they leave high school. What we also look at is having our students taking IB and AP courses. Research indicates that just enrollment in an AP or IB course will help increase the likelihood of students being successful in post-secondary learning. This you can see over time, we are seeing a steady increase of the students who are passing the exams in IB or AP, which provides the possibility of credit for those students who have earned a 3 or better on an AP test or a 4 or better on an IB test. Another factor that we look at is FAFSA completion for our students, because as we all know, going to post-secondary schooling is an expensive endeavor. So one of the ways we are certain that students are ready is by being certain that they are financially able and have the opportunity for financial aid. This year, the state is calculating the data a slightly bit differently. So here we see in the state that about 32.8% of students have completed their FAFSA. I am proud to say that in Milwaukee Public Schools, 49.7% of our students have completed it. If you recall old data that we have shared, the percentages were a little higher. So it's very important to understand that this now is a new way of calculating, and that they have that our certificate of completion students are included in this, and we are measuring it differently. We're still beating the state. We're looking now at a picture of the graduating class of 2013 over several years. What I want you to focus on is the purple section at the top as it gets smaller over time. This is an indicator that over time, our students continue to enter the post-secondary environment. We see that over time, our graduations, our diplomas are growing. We have students that return after stopping. And so this is what we want to see, is that purple area to get smaller and smaller. And hopefully soon I will have data to share with you, because those are students who are in the job force and in the military. And so that we know more about those students as well. Our graduates enrollment by school, MATC is our #1 choice of schools, followed by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, then Madison, then Whitewater, then Marquette, Mount Mary, and Alverno. When looking at our students over the last about 7, 8 years, there are over 1,200 different universities that across the country and around the world where our students have attended. So what are our next steps? First is the continued expectation and support of all students towards a goal of post-secondary readiness throughout their K-12 education. We want to continue to support our relationships with post-secondary institutions and programs that support student preparation beyond high school. I've listed several that we are actively partnered with. We also want to spend time improving access and expect students to take rigorous coursework during their high school. With that, I'm going to end the presentation, entertain any questions. In the board item, there was also a demographic chart for your review. So at this time, your questions.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peters?
Yes, first of all, thank you for the excellent presentation. Very clear. The graphics were very readable. I wonder if you could comment about, make a comparison with any school districts that are more or less similar to Milwaukee and how we compare. I would be interested in seeing that.
Baez,
Administration.
Director
Yes, go ahead.
Baez,
Yes, go
Director
ahead.
Peterson. That data is a little bit more difficult to find because we get this directly to us. I can look at the state level and see 2 or 3 of the reports. This would have to be shared with us by others. So one of the things I can do in the future is to see if I can find, say, Council of Great City Schools members that would be willing to share their data with this, but it's not publicly available.
Other,
Okay,
yeah,
follow up?
Director,
Just
yes,
a comment,
please.
that'd be fine. I mean, one of the purposes is, I think if we see other districts that are doing substantively better than us, then we just go and try to learn from them. But again, thank you for the information.
Other board members that wish to comment? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Baez. For the FAFSA, so I know you said that in prior years that level was higher, but it's also different the way we're calculating it now. What would be some of the barriers to completion for that? Is it just that there's not an expectation if they don't plan on going to school, or is that like just the expectation that 100% of our students should be completing the FAFSA?
Administration.
Director Baez, Director O'Halloran, what I can say about our college and career readiness team is this is a high priority, and they want the goal of 100% of our students having completed their FAFSA. I know our school counselors are dedicated to working and tracking this data. This data is available to us through WISE- for districts. All of our secondary counselors have access to this so that they are constantly working and trying in our college and career centers and trying to provide opportunities and support to children and their families to be able to complete the FAFSA.
Director O'Halloran, follow up. You're muted.
I'm muted.
Yeah.
On slide 13, it shows a breakdown of the schools, and I was wondering, I think it makes sense that I wouldn't see individual schools, but can administration speak to how we encourage students to apply at HBCUs? Because I think they show a better track record of graduating Black students. So I know sometimes that is a barrier in some schools. So can you speak to how we're encouraging students to apply at those schools?
Administration.
Chair Baez and members of the committee, one of the things that we do, we have what we call the Empower Me Tour, that a number of all of the HBCUs pretty much are there. That happens on a yearly basis. We just completed that particular phase as well as there is a number of college tours, HBCU college tours that has taken over the spring break and various times throughout the year. There's the piece that we work with Gerard Randall, who has a connection with a number of Black colleges and deans that we are working with on an ongoing basis, where they have tours of things that we can do with our young people. And then all of our college and access centers, we have made sure that we have all of the banners from the HBCUs posted so they can inquire about and get more information, as individuals can complete applications there with virtual tours and things of this nature. So most of the universities have shifted to virtual tours, and our students are being able to take that virtual tour. And the last thing I would say is alum, that maybe teachers in a number of our schools work with their particular university that they are graduates of and proud of, and they encourage young people to attend school. Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee is one of the ones that we last year alone, we had over 75 of our students from this area that was down there. Could have been more, but 75 was on the list of the bus that they run back and forth over the holiday breaks.
Follow up? Director Phillips.
And I just wanted to thank the administration for bringing this forward. I know that.
Director Phillips, your mic is really low.
Oh, is it?
There you go.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Like that commercial. Can you hear me now? Thank you. So, we talk about start, stay, and succeed. And I think that like getting the report back on this just shows our commitment to that. And I echo Director Peterson's comments about, how does this track or compare to similar districts? And the other attachment, I did have a question about, and this was also in the deck, talking about students from 2013 in terms of completion rates and some of the partners that we've worked with in the district in terms of scholarships, AmeriCorps programs, other things. My question around completion in data of our students that go to post-secondary is how does our alumni relations department interact with this data or complement this data? What are we doing in terms of alumni support to, help students succeed in their post-secondary choices, whether it's, because this is reflective of education, not necessarily like the workforce, how do we capture information on the students that aren't captured through this data? And is the alumni relations department part of that?
Administration.
Chair Baez and members of the committee, yes, that's one of the things that we are retooling and working with that department. And basically what we're doing now is at the completion, of our schools. One of the things that we have done is to make sure, along with the pen that we prepare, the MPS pen that we prepare for our students, alumni pen, we also get their information so that we can stay in touch and track. And that department is working along to throw different functions throughout the year to actively keep those individuals engaged, to try to keep them abreast of what's happening on social media, that's happening with the school district, what's happening with their particular school, and trying to stay tuned with those students as we go forward. So that is something that we are working to fine tune and make it even better. I would truly say since the pandemic, we were unable to have our alumni gathering in person, but we're looking at what can be done from a virtual standpoint. Dr. Mayo?
Director Baez, Director Phillips, member of the committee. I think what we look at too is knowing that the universities, they also value their alums and want their alums to go back to their home schools to recruit. I know that there are some that have come back and have provided information as well as support to college career centers. I know our faculty, and you can see this across many of our schools, that they are proud folks that will put up banners and pennants and things about their alum. And so to encourage students to not only go to post-secondary, but to be aware. I will even say in my office, I have my diploma and my banner of my graduating of 2 of my degrees. So I'm advertising for that as well. So I think it is all of us together, always sharing about post-secondary opportunity that makes a difference for students to attend and stay and know about universities and what they have to offer across the country.
Okay, any other comment by board members? Yeah, Director Phillips, go ahead.
Thank you. And just to follow up to that, in terms of, I know that we don't have the information right now, but there's, the demographics that we have that enter into college and then those who actually earn a degree. Are we in line with general trends around that? So, something that was striking to me was the percentage of American Indian and Asian people that entered into college within the first year in relation to our percentages within the district, and then lower, that looking at those same populations, cutting in half in completion. So does that, do what we see at MPS mirror general trends? I know Director Peterson's question was a little bit more specific in terms of similar districts, but is that something that you could speak to?
Director Baez, Director Phillips, member of the committee, that's something that we can look into and get a report back to you. One of the reports that we get from National Student Clearinghouse has every single student until they graduate, and so, or leave the university. So we can look at that, look at those percentages, and get back to you some information about that compared to national trends.
Follow up, any other board members? Oh, Director Hardeman, you wanted to raise a question?
I was just going to ask on the final slide, we talk about next steps, and one of the next steps was improve access and expect students to take rigorous coursework. So I was wondering if administration had plans to expand AP offering, but if that could be a discussion at a different time, I'm also okay with that.
But we can get an answer.
Okay.
Now.
Mr.
Administration? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Given that the report is around the data, this may be something that the administration can provide, as we are not noticed for speaking about curriculum and course offerings.
I was wondering about that. So
Well, what does the administration think?
Chair Baez and members of the committee, we will be more than happy to follow up with those documents for you, but I will say to you that we are encouraging as many students as possible. We want to have an offering at all schools for all children to have an opportunity to take advanced, rigorous classes, whether it's AP, IB, or gifted talent, or whatever it may be. We are looking to be able to meet those needs, and those numbers are growing every single year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For our listening audience, Director Woodward has joined the committee.
Welcome, Director Woodward. Do we have any other comments by members of the committee? Director Simpson.
Thank you, Chair Baez. And maybe this isn't the right time for this question either. I'm not sure. So given the nature of this year, can you speak to some things that we are doing differently to make sure we're reaching out to students, making sure that there's follow through on applications? Are we taking extra measures to kind of connect to make sure that they start, in the fall?
Administration.
Chair Baez, go ahead.
Chair Baez and members of the committee, absolutely. One of the things that I was just so excited about last week was the Empower Me Tour and how we were able to get in touch with all of our students and push everything that happens on a normal school day. We are still doing the support that they receive from their school counselors, psychologists, social worker, teachers. We have open office hours. I would say it's even better in some points now because we have a number of individuals reaching out to our young people. Our paras are reaching out. Our safeties are reaching out. There's a number of individuals reaching out on a daily basis. And there's a number of things that we are encouraging students to do. And then we can also get things linked up even better when it comes to a Zoom or whatever the situation may be, so that we can interact with our young people. So we're doing a great job around that particular piece. Absolutely, we're looking at ways that we can even enhance that. We're talking with other districts. When I have on conference calls with the Council of Great City Schools, we're looking for new ways to engage and interact with our students to be able to meet those needs. So, Dr. Mail, if you're...
Yes, Chair Baez, Director Simpson, we will also be tracking the data. The National Student Clearinghouse provides data. This would now start to include the graduating class of 2020. So later in December, in April, I get data and we could do a brief update just as to how things are going for our students. So not only what we're doing for the students who are currently enrolled, and helping them prepare, we'll be able to track and see where our graduates of 2020 are and how there are shifts and changes with their post-secondary enrollment.
Follow-up?
Thank you. No follow-up. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, we have no written testimony or no request to speak on this item.
Okay, in that case, may I pass the gavel to Vice Chair Simpson?
So noted.
Absolutely. Chair Baez.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of follow-up questions. During the pre-session meeting, I raised a lot of issues about this data. First of all, I want to thank you because this is good data. If we have good data, it basically means that we know what's going on with our students and where they're at and where they're going, et cetera, and particularly in this case, college. I raised the issue because it seems to me that when we have good data, it's also about what we do with that data. How do we make sure that we use it in such a way that is not only observational, but is also action oriented. That means that we do some things like when I think about FAFA and I think it was number 14 of the slides, okay, the next steps. No, I'm sorry. In the case of FAFA was slide 11, okay? Slide 11, and I noticed that we were, as Director Halloran appropriately pointed out, that if we have as much as 40, almost 50% of our students that we haven't gotten started according to this data, well, colleges and universities today tend to use that indicator a lot, that metric, to get a sense of that. Would it be possible, following up on what Director Halloran asked, to have a sense of where MPS is at, let's say sometime in March or April? Because by that time, students are making arrangements to go to college, okay? And we sort of like as a board need to know if we have significantly increased from that 50%, which is good at this point, okay? I'm not saying anything negative. It's good at this point, but by that time, we should know better how well we have done with students to get them on track to college, because a great majority of our students are going to need financial aid, okay? And so that's a good metric. That's a good indicator. But can we get something like that as a board sometime in March or April, maybe? I want to ask the administration if that's possible.
Administration.
Chair Baez, members of the committee, absolutely. This data is updated daily. Therefore, we can get you an update in March.
Okay, thank you. My next question then, Director Simpson, I got 3 questions. Okay, so let me just put it now. My next question is related to that chart, chart number 12, that looks at the issue of, the number of students that, let me see, I think it's slide 12, okay? Slide 12. That looks, over time at the number of graduates from MPS that graduate from college, okay? I think that's the one, okay? And I see that the persistence or graduation rate of the class of 2013 was like, 16.7? And correct me if I'm wrong on that. But 16.7 after 7 years continues to look very low to me. I'm not, pointing fingers here. I'm just saying, how would we know that we're going to significantly increase that metric? This is not only about MPS, this is also about colleges. I understand that. I understand that colleges and universities continue to do things that sometimes push all students out, not just our students, okay? And that we need the M3 issue, for example, the M3 approach is to improve that, so that colleges and universities will improve the number of people that they retain in their system. But after 7 years, when you look at a 17% persistence and graduation rate, I am not convinced that that's good enough, okay? Again, I'm not saying that that's a function of MPS. It could be a function of colleges and what have you, but it's a metric, it's an indicator. So what will be our plans to look at that metric in a way that we have as a goal increasing the number of our students that go into colleges and universities? And if the administration wants to comment, Director Simpson.
Go right ahead, administration.
Thank you. Chair Baez, members of the committee. This is part of the presentation where we talked about partnerships. Currently, our best work is in the preparation of our students to be successful. That includes the FAFSA, that includes the strong academic performance, to have them better able to enter. As you said, it's our relationships with the MATCs, the University of Wisconsin system, that we can grow and better develop and better partner to make that experience stronger and better for all our students once they leave our doors and we turn them over to the post-secondary system. So again, partnerships and strong preparation before they leave.
Chair, Vice Chair Simpson, President, members of the board. Well, another thing you'll see that we have started to do with M3 is the idea, because M3 you have MATC and UW Milwaukee, 1 and 2, and then we look at what's UW Madison. We have worked together to make sure that a number of our young people, you see the number of them has been successful taking college level classes. That's a start to make sure that they have that college rigor. And we had children to get up to 10 credits, 10 college credits that they can take along. We have through the whole piece around the IB program as well as the AP program, where a number of our students moved into at the university level with credit attainment before they get there. That's another indicator to help students move forward because they know exactly what to expect. And then also to push on the people program that we have with UW-Madison, where we have been, and that's number 3. That's the third school that's where our students go in large numbers to work with that program. And they start working with those children right away at 8th grade and work with them throughout high school. So it's the success will be there. But also I would 100% agree that we have to do this with not only just the UW system, but there's a number of other school districts, not school district, universities that our children find themselves at. And that is something that we have also started through the Black College Tour piece with Gerard Randall in that particular group, because was meeting with those deans of those universities and working with the expectations of students prior to getting there and having that experience. And one of the things that we have done through the M3 piece is to work on staying in college. We have programs to wrap that support and safety net around, like College Possible and various groups to support students through their success. And that is something that should push that number past 17%.
Thank you. And then my last question. Okay, I promise my last question. My last question relates to slide number 13. On slide number 13, when you look at that data, it suggests that about 47% of our students, our graduates, really go to, like MATC, and like about 25% of our graduates end up at UWM. Both of those institutions get a good chunk of our graduates. They may not graduate all of them, but they get them. They have them there. What kinds of things, given that their livelihood is so dependent on how they do with our graduates, okay? I mean, that's a good chunk of people. We need then, as a function of a strategy, be able to say to those institutions in M3, you get 47% of our graduates. What are you going to do that is going to change and improve you to make sure that you retain more of our graduates, as opposed to, after 7 years, only 70%, okay? So I'm wondering if we look at action related to data, I'm wondering to what degree then when I look at slide number 14 and all the things that you have listed there, things that you're doing, which is great. I think that's a good beginning, that we go an extra mile and say other colleges and universities around the country, because going to the earlier question of Director Peterson and Director Phillips, there are two-year colleges. For example, there's a consortium of two-year colleges that share data, that share metrics. And that data has been used historically to improve two-year institutions. And there are two-year institutions that then aspire to do as well as the other colleges, like the top two-year college. And that consortium was Miami-Dade. The second one was Maricopa County, et cetera, right? Everybody aspires to the best of those colleges so that their performance, their metrics of performance significantly increase vis-a-vis those that are doing the best. So, we can identify, and, Dr. Stewart, we may be able to identify high schools, school districts, okay, that are doing similar kinds of things, consortiums. I know that there are consortiums around the country, and maybe the Council of Great City Schools will help us do that. It's something that we should pursue. But I also wanted to suggest that when we look at the data, there are a ton of school districts around the country that have gone to two-year institutions and four-year institutions and say, you get a good chunk of our students. Why don't we do early college high schools, very specifically, that graduate our students with an associate degree and a high school diploma at the same time? You have that in Texas, you have that in California. 10 years ago, there were over 225 early college high schools in this country. 10 years ago, okay, with memorandums of understanding and all of that. So I'm wondering when MPS, as a matter of strategy, can say, in addition to the items that we have here that we're going to pursue, okay, we would like to enter with METC into a memorandum of understanding to create an early college high school, okay? A strategy that would increase our students' ability to get college credits and things like that. Because if other people have done it all over the country, why don't we? So I know that we have early college high school credit programs in the system, and I applaud that. But it's still, a reduced number of credits, while there are schools around the country that graduate their high school kids with an associate degree too. Okay, so can that be explored as a matter of MC3? That would be my question.
Administration.
Vice Chair Simpson, members of the board. That is absolutely correct, Director Baez. That is something that we are currently working on. And two of the states that we're looking at is Florida and Texas. They are big on making sure that their dual enrollment children are graduating with an associate's degree and then have to go off to the senior college and spend 2 years to get a bachelor's degree. That is something that is in the works and that we are moving forward. We're further along at Bradley Tech High School, where we're doing a number of things with MATC there, and students are working and moving, and they're working side by side with the instructors from MATC, and they are able to provide the dual credit that goes along there. Also with M3, we are working through that around the dual enrollment piece. We are constantly meeting once a month around that. Our staff in the district is meeting with the staff at MATC, the instructors at UW Milwaukee. We are also, before the pandemic set in, we have had PD, professional development sessions that are done on our banking time days together around content, what it looks like at the K-12 setting, what it looks like at the community college level, as well as what it would look like at at UW Milwaukee. So those things are moving forward, and we are looking forward to making that happen with the dual enrollment piece that we talked about. We shared in here, where students are coming with a number of different credits. We are looking at a grow your own teacher preparation program that we have started up in 5 of the high schools that we have. We're going to do just the same thing here. When they get to 48 credits, see will they work for us as paraprofessionals, and then once they receive their degree to come back as teachers and working through that particular program. So we are going in a number of different directions that way. Also, along with that, and seeing, we're having a conversation with looking at how we can, with IB credits that our young people leave the district with, as well as AP courses, how can we work with those 2 organizations, having conversations of what that would look like, pushing as far as looking at a something that leads towards an associate's or the associate's degree rider. But that is something that we are moving forward very swiftly on, and we will have that in the very near future.
Oh, just quick follow-up. I would appreciate if we could get back here to the board, okay? The administration may report back to us on the progress that is being made to specifically, approach it from the perspective of an early college high school that MPS should have by next year. I would love to see if something like that that kind of discussion or that kind of a plan can come to this board at some point. Okay? So can I have the gavel back?
You have the gavel back. Go ahead.
So noted.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, I wanted to know if the Office of Academic Efficiency has any comment on the data, because I know they're concerned about data.
Thank you, Chair Baez, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. I don't have any specific questions on the data this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to ask. Is there any further discussion on this item? In that case, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item number 2 is a report with possible action on the credit recovery and acceleration online course development. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Does the administration have something to say about this? Comments?
As Chair Bias and members of the committee, the item that is before you is a follow-up on a request by the board to explore the development of an online courses for credit recovery and acceleration that are culturally relevant, self-paced, standard-based, and engaging. With me this evening is Dr. John Hill and Natalie Anderson, and at this time they will provide an overview of the work and findings relative to the board directions, as well as we will provide some recommendations for moving forward. Dr. Hill.
Good evening, Chair Baez and members of the committee. I'm John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. I'm here to provide a report on the item from August 2020. For our follow-up, we initiated a 2-pronged approach, which A, consisted of mapping out the work of developing online credit recovery and credit acceleration courses that could be used asynchronously, and B, recruiting teachers who are interested in this work. Attachment 1 outlines the work plan of developing courses that match the functionality of Edgenuity. We will need to secure what is known as a Learning Management System, or LMS. This is the platform that the courses are housed on. Google Classroom does not have the same functionality or reporting capability of Edgenuity. We identified some of the key reports and functions in this outline. Some examples of the reports that are reports that identify duplicate student accounts, compare idle time versus active time, grading, and IP address reports. Some example functions are special education and bilingual supports, user roles, and ability to score assessments. We will need to work closely with technology to ensure that the LMS meets the district technology requirements for student programs such as compatibility with Clever, the way students in MPS sign on to different programs, and web-based instead of being housed on a server. Since this no doubt will be a contract exceeding $50,000, we will need to follow administrative policy. 3.09 purchasing and bidding requirements, and will need to go through the request for proposal or RFP process. This may take several months to create and post the RFP, to do a thorough review of responses, and then approve the contract. We will also need to develop the courses. We identified the number of courses currently used to support students in MPS. Please keep in mind that each course is a semester, so a year of English is 2 courses, semester 1 and semester 2. Also, we have 2 versions of each course, a credit recovery and a credit acceleration version. The average course has the following components: 45 lessons, 45 quizzes, 45 assignments, 9 unit tests, and a final exam. Because this is intended to be used asynchronously, this is different from writing a curriculum in the traditional sense. Every single lesson, assignment, and assessment must be written out to the Word and uploaded onto the LMS. In addition, multiple variations of the assessment will need to be created for students that need to retake a unit, so they're not taking the same test over. Our estimate is that this will take well over 150 hours for a single course at 3.5 hours a lesson. This time estimate will also be impacted by whether we can have an LMS in place when the lessons are being written. If we have one in place, we can create the lessons right onto the LMS. If we do not have one in place, then they will need to be uploaded in some form or fashion. Once the courses are done, we will need to provide professional development to staff across the district on how to use the LMS. Additional initial costs will be high until everyone is trained. Once that's achieved, we can then move to just training new staff as they come on board. Additional considerations include piloting the courses, evaluating the courses for efficacy and effectiveness, which most likely will involve identifying and contracting an evaluator, and setting up a system to ensure we are updating courses annually. To continue to provide the same level of support to our current students while all of this is happening, we will need to continue our contract with Edgenuity or another similar platform until all courses are completed. The second part of our follow-up was to create an online application. That posting was shared through Thursday updates, principals, school leaders, and sent to the MTEA as well. The application was open for 25 days, asking for basic information such as name, email, school, years of experience, prior curriculum experience, and one specific question which asked, please describe any culturally responsive instructional strategies you have used and how it improves student outcomes. 10 individuals who are currently full-time teachers and 1 retired teacher who currently substitute applied. Of this group, 1 teacher does not have a license in any of the subject areas, English, math, science, or social studies. 3 do not have traditional face-to-face teaching assignments, and there were no applicants for 1 subject area. The low number of applicants may very well be the result of our teachers currently focusing on the challenges of virtual instruction at this time. In addressing the question on culturally responsive instructional strategies and how student outcomes were improved, all of the applicants described a variety of strategies they use in their class. However, none addressed how the strategies improve student outcomes in any way. I emailed each of the applicants individually, giving them the opportunity to add to their response. Of the applicants that responded, none addressed student outcomes. Working with Dr. Melanie Stewart's team, we looked at student outcomes from the applicants' classes. We did not use data from last year due to the disruption caused by the pandemic, and instead used the 2018-19 school year. We did not look at any third-party assessments such as ACT, AP, IB, or WKCE exams. Instead, We only use grades from traditional face-to-face classes, filtering out all credit recovery courses and alternative courses. We found that the applicants who had face-to-face classes during the 18-19 school year assigned Ds and Us to 46% of their students. This is 17% higher than the district average of 38% of Ds and Us for that school year. We then looked specifically at 3 groups of students: Black, Hispanic, and white. We found the following grade breakdown. Looking at the percent of students that received a D or U by group, we saw that 55% of the Black students received a D or a U, 44% of the Hispanic students, and 24% of the white students. We then looked at the percent of students that received an A by each group, and we found that 10% of the Black students received an A, 22% of the Hispanic students received an A, 47% of the white students received an A. Based on the limited number of applicants, the high and disproportionate failure rates in face-to-face classes, and the significant cost and task of creating an asynchronous system for credit recovery and credit acceleration that replicates the functionality of Edgenuity, we are recommending 3 key action steps which can be found in attachment 2. First, develop systems within high schools to identify and support students who are failing classes prior to the end of the semester to help the student be successful. We need to reduce failures on the front end. We can utilize the research and work of the Network for College Success. Additionally, we see that Chicago Public Schools used that research, and their graduation rates went from 57% in 2006 to 74% in 2015, and they reported higher attendance, better grade point averages, and increases in test scores. We need to continue to examine data deeper and address disproportionate grading outcomes and failure rates. The data shows that during the 18-19 school year, approximately 1/3 of the teachers accounted for more than 2/3 of the failures, with an average failure rate of 35%, while 2/3 of the teachers had less than 1/3 of the failures, with an average failure rate of 8%. The data review and reflection are not just for the district office, but will also need to be at the school with teachers, and will need to include student voice in the review and reflection. Based on data review and reflection, there may be some recommended coaching to allow teachers to examine and change practices that may promote inequitable outcomes. The high school region has already met with a think tank made up of principals, school leaders, and counselors to review grading data and identify intervention strategies to improve student achievement. Second, continue to support successful on-time high school completion for students who have received a D or U in their high school courses, or who have been unable to take a course needed for graduation with the current options, outside of taking the entire course during the school year. Those supports are summer school Edgenuity and alternative programs. There is a direct correlation between the increase in graduation rates and the increased use of interventions. Our data analysis showed that the 2019 graduates, 55% of the on-time graduates accessed one or more of those 3 supports, with credit recovery being most utilized at 46%. We also saw the use of interventions, specifically credit recovery, was disproportionate among groups, which aligns with the disproportionality in grades. The percent of unique students that took credit recovery by group are as follows: 30% of the white students, 52% of the Black students, and 46% of the Hispanic students. Third, continue to collaborate with Edgenuity on the evaluation and development of items for each course. Edgenuity recognizes there are needs to be at a higher level of cultural and linguistic responsiveness in their tool, and are more than willing to have MPS teachers and administrators be a part of the redesign of the product to help meet the specific needs of MPS students. To complete this task, Edgenuity has identified a diverse group of experts to lead this work. They are currently working on social studies and will be moving to English next. Additionally, Edgenuity is willing to have MPS be part of both the development and evaluation of courses. To do this work with Edgenuity, we will be intentional in identifying teachers and administrators that both reflect the racial and ethnic diversity of our district and also have diversity amongst themselves based on years of experience, variety of schools, lived experiences, and success with diverse student learners. At this time, we are open for any questions that you may have.
Members of the committee, would you have questions? Director Peterson, and followed by Director Phillips.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, administration, for a very thorough response to the request that the board made. One question, I'm curious if there's any speakers from the audience who wants to speak. If there are, perhaps we could start with them.
Secretary?
Mr. Chair, we do have one speaker registered to speak on this item.
Why don't we have that speaker go ahead, Director Peterson? I'll get right back to you after the speaker completes.
Thank you.
So noted. The speaker that we have on the platform on this item is Amy Mizialko. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Amy Mizialko, Mizialko.
Thank you.
Chair Baez, SASE committee members, and Superintendent Posley. Wanted to share some testimony tonight regarding concerns that MTEA has over the lack of alternative education resources for our English language learners in Milwaukee Public Schools. We know that this issue is a serious issue at South Division and suspect that the issue is present to some degree at Riverside and Hamilton High Schools as well. During the 2019-2020 school year, several South Division high school students identified as, quote, at risk, being overage, under credit, and habitually truant. These are Spanish dominant students, were offered the chance to attend the South Accelerated Academy and work in a competency-based program. The students were there for about a semester, but after that semester's time, where they saw improvement and credit attainment, the students were told they could no longer be in the South Accelerated Academy, and they were sent back to the South Division complex. This was devastating to the families and students at the loss of the opportunity to graduate in a non-traditional way with bilingual support. MTEA must meet and confer with the administration on this matter. We're very concerned that there aren't good options for our bilingual students other than a traditional 22 credit high school program. Seeing that 12.1% of our student population are English language learners, this is something that has to be addressed and corrected. And honestly, I'd like to work with the superintendent to be in touch with these families and students to see if we can bring them back so that they can complete.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, that was the only speaker that we have registered for this item, and we have no written testimony.
Okay, thank you. Do members, I want to go back to Director Peterson and then Director Phillips, and then go ahead.
Okay,
Director Peterson.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Again, thank the administration for attention to this issue. I mean, there's obviously many things that could be commented upon in regards to this. I mean, the original impulse was a concern about the quality of the acceleration online courses having to do with cultural relevance and connectivity with our students. And I appreciate the fact that there seems to be an interest in Ingenuity to change that and improve the quality of the classes that they're providing asynchronously. So that's a good thing, and I hope that we can have sort of regular updates. Certainly, this is important because clearly a large number of our students benefit from credit recovery, and we need to make sure that it is as efficient as possible. I mean, I heard the comments, or the concerns raised about some of the failure rate and D's and U's amongst the teachers who have in their regular classes. I mean, that's obviously many things can be involved in that. I'd be curious on the flip side to see what the success rate is of the Ingenuity students. And that doesn't have to be told to me right now or tonight, but I assume there's students struggling in both face-to-face and credit recovery classrooms. I think one of the things I take away from this report is certainly the complexity and the cost and the effort that would take to create a whole new system on our own seems overwhelming at this time, especially given the fact that many teachers are continuing to struggle with providing distance learning to our students, and our students likewise are struggling in some ways as well, as they are across the country. But what I do think is positive about the overall conversation is the attention that the administration has given and it's restated in terms of what alternative programs, what do we look, what are the options? Let's look at the summer school. Let's look at Ingenuity. Let's look at alternative programs. Let's look at trying to reach the students who are struggling prior to their need for this. And so one thing that caught my eye was the comment that the Network for College Success in Chicago had raised their graduation rate by a very significant level. And I wonder if the administration could just comment on what were some of the key, if they know, features of the work that such a clearinghouse has done with Chicago that stands in contrast, say, to what we have been working with our staff. Again, thanks for the information.
Administration.
Go ahead.
Chair Baez, Director Peterson, members of the committee, thank you for that question. What Chicago really focused on were what are called early warning, on-track, off-track indicators. So they looked at attendance and failures in core courses. And basically, as they saw students falling below certain thresholds, whether it was failing at midterm in a core course, they intervened with that student. So the interventions really weren't that complicated. A lot of times it was a teacher that had a relationship with that student, connecting with that student.
And that is some of the things that we're doing. The high school, it talks about the high school think tanks have already started with that. And what we just got our grades, and what we're doing right now is looking at those student grades, analyzing, going back, working with young people so that they don't fail that course. So each of the principals as well are working with teachers, and teachers are working with young people now to be able to do just that. One of the other things that Dr. Hill did not talk about, but is also privy to that particular piece, is looking at those freshman academies as well as those sophomore academies, making sure that we move those cohorts of students completely through, because if you have a successful freshman school year and a successful sophomore year, you are on target for graduation, and making sure that children are not repeating courses.
Director Peterson, follow up.
Yeah, I agree. The relations are key. Obviously, that has to do with a whole bunch of factors as well, having classes that are connected to students' lives so the students feel engaged, a smaller class size so that teachers are not expected to have close relationships with hundreds of students. And the third thing, in which I know is a concern that has been raised, and something which I appreciate the administration to report on, is in especially the core subjects, how many openings do we have, in the sense, I know last year there were some high schools that had several of the core subject teachers being taught by substitutes because we couldn't find fully certified teachers to take those roles. I assume that could also be a factor in having kids struggle. Do we have any data currently about how we're doing in terms of core subjects in high schools and the number of teachers that we're still looking for?
Administration.
Chair Baez and members of the committee, yes, we will get that information to everyone prior to the full board meeting. I don't have that at my fingertips right now, but I will say we're in better shape this year than we were last year because we have a number of staff that are tied to the central administration building, and those individuals are filling vacancies, and they are certified teachers, and they are out filling some of the vacancies that we have out at some of the schools doing the virtual platform to make sure that all of our students have a teacher in the classroom, as well as the substitute teachers that are working along with us. But we will get that information to you. And right now, we are a little bit over 100 teachers that we're looking for. But that is the idea of all different areas. That is not just core content area. So we will have that to the board prior to the full board meeting.
Thank you.
Director Phillips.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend the administration for continuing this work. I know that we had said that we wanted a longer term vision for this, and I think that this will benefit us beyond, our current moment with education during COVID. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Other comments by board members? Do we have the Office of Accountability and Efficiency? Do you have any concerns you want to raise?
Thank you, Chair Baez. Matt Chase, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. And Dr. Mann may say that this is not partial to what's been noticed, but one of the things we talked about in the pre-meeting was how this data and information may dovetail with our educator effectiveness system. And to the extent that there is any information sharing that might take place between those areas, and if the administration would like to comment and it's on topic, that would be the only point that I would raise.
Administration.
Chair Baez and members of the committee, you know that we have requested a waiver for our EE piece. However, we have been working with school administrators and staff around checking in and what we do in that steadfast to make sure that we are working together to benefit the cause of students and to improve the quality of instruction. So their staff are still able to go into GoGuardian to monitor and go into classrooms, give feedback to teachers, whether that's verbal or whatever the situation may be. And all of it is to help to improve the quality of instruction on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. May I then pass the gavel to Vice Chair Simpson, please?
So noted.
Go ahead, Chair Baez.
Had a couple of questions. One is related to the presentation by the speaker that came before us tonight, and I'm glad that the issue was brought up. The issue of limited resources for English language learners in alternative settings is a major concern. It has been a major concern for a long time because a lot of the publishers don't get out a lot of that those kinds of materials, the materials that teachers need to work on those alternatives are created. But it's encouraging to know that the MTA and others are observing carefully that and asking that we do better at trying to get these materials particularly in alternative settings to students. And I would advocate in regular settings too. I know that we're doing the best we can, but maybe we need to appropriate resources within Title III or the state or what have you to increase those resources and make the appropriate connections with the people that are producing that, particularly now on virtual platforms. There's a bunch of folks, particularly vendors, who are working on that in the area of curriculum. But second, I wanted to raise the issue of alternative settings and acceleration centers. The acceleration school in South Division went through a lot, as many of you know, a lot of changes, and it sort of like didn't work for anybody. Okay, I visited the setting several times, and the metrics, the outcomes were not very promising, and that's why that happened. That many students went back to the regular classrooms, and I think that Dr. Hill can probably speak to that. So accelerated schools were not necessarily the best possible response, and we know through the data at the national level with English language learning is that it's not the best response to English language learners, because there are districts that tend to just throw students into accelerated schools that are English language learners, and they don't get the necessary support that they need to do that. So I would love to encourage, because of the testimony that was made tonight, that we look carefully at that population of kids at schools like South Division and other places that have this need for acceleration. You don't have an acceleration school in the same way that you had it before, but what can we do for them? Very much like IEPs, to be able to say, these are the kinds of needs that we have identified for them. These are the kinds of resources that we need, the kinds of support that they need so that they get it. So I appreciate the testimony and the fact that it's being brought up, and that the discussions be really good discussions that include teachers and administrators and staff and others that have looked at this issue of accelerated learning and how that is working or not working when we create these schools. So I just wanted to suggest that. Administration wants to comment?
Chair, Vice Chair Simpson, members of the board, one of the things that we will do, and Director Baez, you're correct in the idea around companies publishing materials in different languages and those kinds of things. But one of the big things that I heard loud and clear tonight from the caller, as well as from members of the board, is the idea of and making sure that we have the resources available for students and any type of programs that they need. That is something that we will take a look at, a more closer look at this whole idea, and making sure the funding is there to meet those needs. And from an alternative standpoint, looking at what we do around that curriculum to make sure that students are successful and make sure that they are appropriately placed when they go into those programs, so that we don't move them back and forth between alternative programs and a regular classroom. So looking at what we need to do there, and also looking at what can we do to building safety nets so those students will be successful in those programs. Because we want to make sure all of our children are successful, whether they find themselves at whichever program they may be in. So, but having the materials and things that's needed in order to guarantee and to garner success.
Just a follow up is that, the speaker and the MTA have sort of like reach out, let's work together and let's do something on this. I would hope that the administration works with the MTA and works with other bilingual expertise, okay, within those particular schools where you have that high school situation, like South Division, like Hamilton and Pulaski and others, and see what we can do to focus on that population, because the population we need to make sure that we provide appropriate alternatives for, okay? So I just wanted to encourage us to do that.
Vice Chair Simpson, members of the committee, we look forward to working with the MTA, our school leaders, and Dr. Hill talked about students as well. Student voice is big, to make sure that we meet the needs of our students and our school communities.
Okay.
Chair Bias, would you like the gavel
I
back?
would like the gavel back. Thank you so much. Okay.
So
Uh, I have the gavel. So any other comments by committee members? Oh, Director Simpson. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Bias. I was just wondering when we could maybe get an update on where things are at with the administration recommendations, as well as what Director Bias was speaking to and the caller.
Yeah. Administration?
Chair Bias and members of the committee, we will be more than happy to bring this item back in February because we have to, December and January, we have to get staff together. And we will be more than happy to come back in February if that's okay with the board.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Simpson, any follow-up? Okay, that's fine. Any other comments on this matter? Any other discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, a report with possible action regarding Black Lives Matter Week campaign and planning for the 2020-21 school year. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Administration?
We are pleased to bring forward our second report regarding the Black Lives Matter Week campaign and planning for the entire 2020-21 school year. I would like to thank President Miller for bringing this resolution forward and the entire board for the adoption of the resolution regarding this important work. At this time, I would like to express my gratitude to Ms. Felice Beal and Dr. Tony Dinkins, who are leading this work on behalf of the administration and all those individuals who are joining us to implement this resolution with fidelity. At this time, I will ask Ms. Beal to begin the presentation, and after which we will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Ms. Beal.
Good evening, Chair Bias and members of the committee. My name is Felice Beal, Instructional Leadership Director of Central Region, Office of School Administration. The Black Lives Matter initiative continues to develop and move forward towards the resolution goals and expectations. The subcommittees continue to meet regularly to plan and develop curriculum connections and activities for staff and students to further this work. Today's presentation will provide you with an update on the progress and activities thus far. The development of Black Lives Matter initiatives is a critical component to the 5 priorities of success. Each activity, professional development opportunity, and curriculum-aligned lesson will be a critical component in the enhancement of the priorities of success for all students of Milwaukee Public Schools. This again is our final list of core committee members. Each committee meets regularly to discuss their individual goals and expectations that I will describe in just a few slides. The Curriculum and Professional Development Monthly Activities Committee is working on several components. To date, several department leads are examining Ambitious Instruction 3.0 to align the work with the professional learning. They are developing lessons for novice, intermediate, and advanced learners. There were discussions on enhancing and ensuring meaningful connections are created for November 16th PD. We are still working on that. As you see from the bullets, they're talking about collaborating across offices and departments, identifying individual levers in the respective offices, really looking at the MPS restorative practices team and creating lessons that incorporate the National Black Lives Matter at School curriculum. They're collaborating about the development of an overarching equity catalog of offerings that can be utilized throughout our learning management system.
Good evening, Chair Bias and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent for the East Region. The monthly activities subgroup has developed activities around the Justice for George Day for the October-November activity. Principal, educator background, student resources, prompts, and the National Black Lives Matter resource information was provided to leaders to share with their learning teams and school staff. Students were asked to write, sketch, express, or share art, poetry, or an essay, or group projects by November 23rd, 2020. A Google Doc was created to store these student submissions. School staff members were also encouraged to have students participate in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speech and writing contest. We feel both activities are aligned and encourage students to be reflective and creative. The monthly activities group is currently working on the development of the December's activity when we will meet next week as a group. Next slide.
The Week of Action subgroup met to discuss the ideas for the Week of Action. Discussions were held to develop activities and experiences that can be held virtually. You can see here we brainstormed students amplified panel discussions, movie screening, talent showcase, the intergenerational panel, Black Arts and Awards Night, and the next steps for this particular subgroup is to create awards categories, to solidify details for the intergenerational night, as well as the components for the Week of Action. In conclusion, the Black Lives Matter Committee, we will continue to work on developing meaningful connections to the 5 priorities of success, along with the curriculum goals for MPS. And the goal of this committee is to humanize Black students and the community. That concludes our presentation.
Okay.
You have any questions?
Yes. Before I go to questions by the rest of the board members, I know that Director Mitter was one of the makers of this resolution. He joined us tonight because he had some comments.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
we also have one speaker on the platform.
Okay. Do we want to hear the speaker first, Director Miller, before you comment?
Please, let's have the speaker first.
Yes. Madam Chair.
The speaker that we have on the platform is Ingrid Walker Henry. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Ingrid Walker Henry, WALKER-HENRY.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Baez, SASE committee members, and Superintendent Posley. MTA continues to support the efforts of MPS to do more than celebrate a week of Black Lives Matter at school, but to expand the principles and work to the Year of Purpose and to a curriculum for the district. The Year of Purpose Committee, chaired by myself and Jeremiah Jackson, have scheduled monthly meetings to continue to look at the National Year of Purpose themes and activities and make them something all MPS teachers can use with students this year and in the future. The Year of Purpose Subcommittee looks forward to the district starting the Black Lives Matter at School Year of Purpose monthly activities. The committee's goal is to recognize every student that participates and to have some type of showcase of the work at the end of the year. As the Black Lives Matter at School committees proceed with our work, our focus will remain on the principles of Black Lives Matter at school and supporting our students, families, and educators in understanding, teaching, and celebrating those principles. MTA looks forward to our joint work and will continue asking more of MPS to do all that we can to advance Black Lives Matter at School principles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That
Yes.
completes public testimony on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Miller, would you like to comment then before we go into the rest of the group? You are muted.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Director Baez. No, I just had my short comment is that I've been looking at the reports and talking to a variety of people that have been doing this work, and I am very impressed with how deep this is going and how excited people are. And I really want to thank Ms. Beal and Dr. Dinkins for the work that they're doing and the chairs of all the committees. I've also met face-to-face around some of the curriculum that's being discussed and with some of the curriculum folks, and it's very exciting. I wanted to ask just an interest question, from the report. The dedication that we're giving to George Floyd and the artwork that's going to be done around George Floyd, has there been any discussion about creating a George Floyd wall or a memorial or something like that? What are some of the types of creative things that might be on the plate for this wonderful work that I know our students are going to do?
Administration?
Director Baez, members of the committee, an excellent question. For the month of October, November, we have asked students to share and reflect around a prompt for our K through 3 students. What would it look like for the world to live in joy and peace? And for our 4th through 12th graders, we are asking them to write about, reflect, share in poetry, an essay, any art. Within this year of purpose, how can you begin to live tomorrow today? And what must change in order to realize the world you envision? And so our students have until November 23rd to actually come and submit their projects along with any artwork or essays and things that they feel are reflective and really show their reflection in this process. Did you want to add?
Yeah, and if I can add, we're also going to have a curriculum fair that's aligned to Black Lives Matter. And so what we expect to see during that time is that those projects and whatever, if it's a sketch, if it's a group activity, if it's a play, whatever they have created, that they're able to share that, and that all of our students will be able to see some of the various creations that were put forth by our students.
President Miller, and follow-up?
Just a quick thing. That sounds great. The idea of celebrating what our students are doing, that's at the heart of this, and being hopeful, and at the same time teaching the real history of this country and the struggles that are being faced by Black communities is just so critical for our students to be able to analyze, discuss, celebrate, but also criticize the racism and the white supremacy that hangs over us. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Miller. Anybody else from the board would like to comment? Director O'Halloran. And followed by Director Peterson.
Thank you. And President Miller actually asked, one of my questions was how we're recognizing this at the school level in the writing prompts that answered it. My one question was for the planning for November, December activity. What theme is that going to be? Because I know November's is the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Do we anticipate that activity centering on that theme, or what theme can we expect?
Chair Baez, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair Baez and committee. To answer your question, we have some autonomy to we're not directly aligning with the national Black Lives Matter, so that we can align things to Milwaukee Public Schools to make sure that we are getting a deep understanding of the principles and some of the information that needs to be shared, as well as have that opportunity to have professional development surrounding some of the components and how we to address some of the issues. It's a little bit challenging being virtual, where we can't have some of those circle activities to get everybody involved. So what we're trying to do next month, I know we wanted to make sure we could get in the Dr. Martin Luther King writing contest for this month as well. So just trying to make sure that all of these different activities are able to be addressed. We are pushing some of the things a little bit back to the next month. So we will address it. It just may not be in alignment with the national. Okay. It may go out of sync in some forms of that.
Okay. Director Peterson. No, I mean, Director Halloran, do you have a follow-up? Okay, thank you. Director Peterson?
Yes, thank you for the work. And I was just going to ask a couple questions about the Martin Luther King Jr. Writing and Speech and Art Contest. Is a deadline? Well, first of all, both what has been laid out is great. And I can imagine, though, there being almost not competition, but sort of a duality with the Martin Luther King contest and some of the projects that have been asked to be turned in on by November 23rd. Could you tell us what the theme is for the Martin Luther King contest, and also the deadline for submission of those themes, essays and speeches?
Administration.
Chair Baez and members of the board, the theme is moving forward. And our students they have until the 16th to get that information in and done. And one of the things that we have done is that we have put a lot of social media hits out there to make sure we put some new information today out in Thursday updates. We're going to be doing the auto dialer. We're going to be pushing to make sure that we have a number of our students complete the Dr. Martin Luther King writing piece as well as the art piece, and also get involved in the speech contest as well. But we also wanted to make sure that we did the same thing with George Floyd. And this is an opportunity. Writing is one of the areas that we have focused on as a school district, and we want our children to become prolific writers. And so therefore, both of these opportunities give our young people an opportunity to sharpen the pencil and hit the keypads and make some writing happen. So that's what we're looking forward to for our young people.
Thank you. Director Peterson, follow up?
Yeah, thank you very much. That moving forward seems to be a very positive theme right now, especially, well, just I'll leave it at that. I would hope, though, that we know, I mean, that some students who might write a good essay around George Floyd might be looking forward. I mean, in terms of the themes that were described in case, you know, that were described in terms of what the prompts would be, there seems to be some overlap. And just speaking as somebody who has written some things, sometimes there's dual uses. I mean, one could think that a good essay about that using the prompt that was presented earlier could fit very well into the rubric of the Martin Luther King writing contest. I'm just hoping that teachers see that flexibility, and it's not a bad thing for kids to really focus just on one thing and then submit it or use it for dual purposes.
No. Administration.
I'm sorry, Director Baez, members of the committee, we have encouraged, as we've sent out the October, November activity, we are encouraging our teachers and our leaders are encouraging them to align the two activities because they do align themselves together very well.
As well as they don't have to just write an essay. This can be something very much so intertwined into art, where they can, you know, sketch something out. If they wanted to create a play, they can be very creative in reference to how they produce the outcome of this activity.
Thank you. Director Peterson, any follow-up?
Thank you very much.
Anybody else on the board that would like to comment on this issue? Or if not, oh, Director Simpson is shyly moving her hand up.
Thank you, Chair Baez. Just really to reiterate what people have said, I think that raising awareness of the work that's being done in our district towards this year of purpose, there isn't a better way to get attention to the work that's being done than sharing the work that our students do. So it sounds like we have some things in place to share that work. If there's a way to do that on a frequent basis, you know, as these monthly themes are explored, you know, ways that it can be on our, you know, the MPS Facebook page or the district page is always just a good PR for us. So just encouraging as much sharing of student work as possible. That's it.
And well, and I would just like to add, thank you. Thank you very much. This, I said it at the pre-SASE meeting, and I said it before, you've done a lot of good work, and the presentation was good and, you know, to the point, and I want to appreciate that very much, and I think that we all thank you. So, Madam Secretary, do we have any other issues related to this one? Can we move on to the next item, please? Okay.
Mr. Chair, that completes discussion on this item. That next item before the committee is item number 4, a report with possible action on the Citywide Regional Showcase. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Administration, please.
Members of the committee, we end this evening's agenda with our Citywide Regional Showcase. We have Ms. Janelle Hawkins here, as well as a number of staff members from River Trail School. Janelle Hawkins.
Good evening, Chair Baez and members of the committee. Again, my name is Janelle Hawkins, Senior Director of the Citywide Region from the Office of School Administration. I am honored this evening to bring you the Regional Showcase for the Citywide Region. Before I begin this evening, I will begin by highlighting our district's 5 priorities for success. In the citywide region, our work is grounded and rooted in each of the areas you see listed before you. It is my responsibility as the principal supervisor to ensure that leaders are working collaboratively each and every day with their school staffs to align the work and our efforts toward our priorities. The citywide region is comprised of 10 schools, 3 elementary schools with specialties ranging from Dr. King Elementary School is a community school candidate, Townsend Elementary School is our neighborhood school, and River Trail is proposing a new agricultural science focus, which you'll hear a little bit more about. Also very excited to have all of our traditional middle schools within one region. The middle schools include Andrew Douglas, another neighborhood school, Green Tree Preparatory School, one of our instrumentality charter schools, Lincoln Center of the Arts and Arts Focus School, Roosevelt Middle School, another arts focus, King Middle Years, and Wedgwood, our IB focus, and Morris Middle School, which is a gifted and talented and also exploring IB candidacy. The leadership roster in citywide region has a wealth of knowledge, experience, and can-do attitude. The leaders work collaboratively with each other, and they truly have the best interests of kids at heart. The citywide region currently has 4,316 scholars that we serve every day. As I mentioned earlier, there are 10 mighty schools within the region. A total of 587 dedicated staff members are working with our children. We have a population of 21% students with disabilities, 5.7% English language learners. In the citywide region, our vision is to work collaboratively, together as leaders. I support my leaders by side-by-side coaching to identify practices within the school transformation and scale them out to school communities in the most efficient manner possible, making sure that everyone is working coherently toward improving student achievement. As you can see from this slide, we are making steady progress in the citywide region. This slide delineates how the schools in the region are doing according to the 2018-2019 state report card, which was the last time we received a report card from the Department of Public Instruction. As you can see, the bulk of the schools are meeting few expectations, but very high scores, almost all pushing toward meeting expectations. Dr. King and Wedgwood are definitely soaring, and we have 2 schools because of new identification had not been scored. All of the schools are working extremely hard, even during this pandemic, to get more scholars to proficiency. We are utilizing research-based strategies to support growth. Leaders are working to establish a vision for areas of improvement. They are turning those visions into key systems that will help us to monitor and support and hold adults accountable for moving more students toward proficiency. We also are very excited to say currently within this pandemic, we have 4 schools with 90% attendance. Those schools are Wedgwood, Townsend, River Trail, and Lincoln Center of the Arts. At this time, I would like to spotlight one of the schools in the region, which is River Trail Elementary School, led by Principal Robin Swan. She, along with 2 other staff members who I will allow her to introduce, are here to share some very exciting developments that we have happening on the far northwest side of town. At this time, I would like to introduce Principal Robin Swan.
Thank you, Director Hawkins. Greetings, Chair Bias, members of the committee, and Superintendent Posley. Hello, my name is Robin Swan, and I am the proud principal of River Trail School. River Trail School, which is located at 12021 West Forest Avenue, is a very unique K-8 school. What makes River Trail so unique is that we are one of 2 only open concept schools. That's a school without walls or doors within MPS. We have worked to create a learner-focused, academic, and mosaic of arts, encompassing community service, agriculture, and technology for all students which we serve. Our school is organized by 3 multi-grade units, and these units are Unit A, which consists of K4 through 2nd grade, Unit B, which consists of grades 3 through 5, and Unit C, our middle school unit, which consists of grades 6 through 8. Each unit includes daily collaboration sessions and weekly horizontal and vertical grade level and unit meetings with team members, unit leaders, SST, and the school principal. The school program emphasizes a comprehensive literacy framework, scientific process, the use of technology, and rigorous research-based math, reading, and writing strategies, which are in alignment with our superintendent's 5 priorities of success. During the 2018-2019 school year, our students showed academic growth with the Wisconsin State Forward Assessment, which showed our students improving their overall performance by 9 points. Our students moved their overall score from a 5.1.0 red category to a 6.0.1 yellow category. Also during the same time, student absenteeism went down from 15.7% down to 11%, and our student suspension rate decreased from 7.4% down to 1.4%. Therefore, we are proud of these accomplishments. However, we know we still have a lot of work to do. One of our many academic goals here at River Trail School is that we want to be considered and to be an official, original agricultural science school within MPS so that our students can successfully move to Vincent High School, which also is an agricultural school. This transition will academically challenge our students to open the door to learn more about agricultural science while taking ownership of their own learning. We want them to make better food choices to sustain good health and expose them to multiple careers within the food industry. So at this time, please allow me to introduce to you these 2 fabulous teachers who are with me today, and they'll like to share with you additional information about our fabulous agricultural program here at River Trail School. To my right, I have Mr. Joshua Gonzalez, who is a 2nd grade teacher, the chairperson of our agricultural program, and the proud 2019-2020 Teacher of the Year winner. To my left, I have Mr. David Zimmerman, who is a special education teacher. He's a former chairperson of our agricultural program and a current committee member. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Ms. Swan. Greetings, Chair Baez, members of the committee, and Superintendent Posley. My name is Joshua Gonzalez, and I'm the Agriculture Committee Chairperson at River Trail School. I would like to share with you a few of the accomplishments in our background that our school has achieved with our agriculture program, which we took upon ourselves to create, fund, and maintain under the approval of our principal. I would also like to let you know about the direction our school is heading in the present and near future. We started our program with becoming the first school in the state to receive an American Heart Association Learning Garden gift, which created raised garden beds in front of the school. This was phase 1 of our 5-phase plan for our agriculture program. In phase 2, we started a compost program with the remnants from the students' lunches, which provides us with amazing soil for our plants. Also in phase 2, we started a pumpkin patch on our campus, acquired greenhouses for inside and outside of the school, received and implemented hydroponics towers, and founded our own 4-H club. Now, as we have recently completed phase 3 and are moving into phase 4 of our agriculture program, both of which you'll hear about shortly, it makes sense that we, as a feeder school for Vincent High School, our district's flagship school for agriculture, provide students with a depth of knowledge in agriculture that will prepare them for success there. Our phases 3 and 4 project will give students experience with a non-traditional agriculture program that will expose them to strategies and techniques that they will take with them into high school and can be used throughout the rest of their lives. Dave Zimmerman will now tell you more about our phases 3 and 4 project that is currently in the works.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Good evening, Chair Baez, members of the committee, and Superintendent Posley. In April of 2018, we were able to share our vision with the MPS supervisors of buildings and grounds and facilities and maintenance. At their suggestion, we've had the targeted grounds professionally surveyed and have had plans drawn up with contour lines. What we propose to do is to dig swales along those contour lines. What are swales, you might ask? Well, you can see on the right what a swale is. Instead of water rolling down over the hill when it rains, the swale stops the water and the water is retained and goes straight into the ground. When you dig the swale, you place the excess dirt on the bottom of the cup. So you see a hump on the back side of the swale. On top of a berm, that's called a berm, behind the swale, we would plant trees to help further erosion and utilize the water coming down. It is estimated that every rain event on the acre and a half of our proposal creates 190,000 gallons of water that goes into the sewerage district. We, with these swales, would keep at least 170,000 gallons on the property. When we plant these trees, they would include chestnuts, Asian pears, and hazelnuts. Once those trees have been established, we'd plant raspberries, blackberries, and currants. We would then have created a polyculture on our property. Unlike conventional farming, these plants are permanent fixtures and do not require annual replowing and replanting. Therefore, erosion is stopped. Soil biology is improved. Wildlife is nurtured. And we have created a forest where everything is edible. Further on down the line, if possible, we would like to graze the swaths in between the swales using chickens and small livestock. We are using what's known as the sheer total utter neglect method, which is called the stun method. So we are not expecting maximum harvest. Instead, we project about half production. We are using organic methods to raise these crops and plan to use our staff and student body to help with the harvest. On this acre and a half, we estimate the following return after the trees begin to produce. Remember, there are no annual crops, just crops from the trees. The chestnuts would produce approximately $7,500 a year. Pears, Asian pears, about $24,000 a year. Hazelnuts, about $13,000 a year. So we project an annual profit using the stun method of over $44,000 a year. We expect this profit to go back into the agriculture program and fund other student accounts. Mr. Gonzalez.
Next slide, please. With permission from Director Hawkins, we partnered with GRACE, a civil engineering consulting company, to have our campus surveyed for our permaculture food forest project. This was phase 3 of our 5-phase plan for becoming an agriculture school. They use drones, cameras, lasers, and other traditional surveying tools to create this survey. Phase 4 will be using the contours of the land to dig the swales and plant the food forest. Next slide, please. This is an example of an aerial view of what our permaculture food forest will look like after phase 4 has been completed. Phase 5 of our program will have the students running and maintaining the numerous agriculture projects we have, as well as the business of selling our produce as part of their regular educational experience in the future. We are providing educational experiences that are not available anywhere else in the city for elementary and middle school age students. Our program, which focuses on non-traditional farming and agriculture techniques, will provide students with the requisite knowledge for success in our district's agriculture high school and complement the more traditional approaches they will receive there. This allows the students every option moving forward to pursue either style or even blend the two together and create new techniques. Next slide, please. We would like to thank the partners that have worked with us on our program so far, and these organizations are Grape Engineering Consultant Firm for completion of the survey and assisting in the planning stage. Reflow for assistance with grants and finding donors. 4-H for helping create agriculture curriculum. The Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District for providing grant opportunities in 2021. The Milwaukee Brewers for giving a $5,000 grant for our agriculture program. The Natural Resources Conservation Services, USDA, for assisting us with finding grants for our project. Fresh Time Grocery Store for garden produce gifts. And the American Heart Association for their $8,000 garden gift. Now back to you, Ms. Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. We also like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to showcase our fabulous agricultural program with you this evening, and hope you allow us another opportunity to share any updates pertaining to this program in the very near future. Now back to you, Director Hawkins.
And thank you, Ms. Swan and the River Trail team. In conclusion, just wanted to share with you that in our region, we've talked a lot about what makes a good leader. How do we inspire kids and adults in hopes that all we do is transformational and not just transactional? As a region, we know we still have opportunities for growth. We know that we need to focus on early literacy. As we have looked at our data, we know there must be an emphasis on high quality instruction to ensure our scholars are on grade level. This will allow us to get more early learners to proficiency. We also are aware that we must have an increase in proficiency on the Forward and DLM. Today, I referenced the STAR assessment, which showed much growth in all of our schools. However, leaders and school staff know and understand that our scholars must be able to perform on the DLM and Forward exam, just as our counterparts in other parts of the state. We must have an increase in first-time passing rate for algebra. Algebra is the gatekeeper for post-secondary schools. We are working hard and working alongside of our high school region to ensure that we are getting more kids not just exposed to algebra, but excelling in algebra. Overall, culture and climate continues to be our focus and will be our focus as all schools have developed plans that are making sure that adults and kids want to be there. We are also working on attendance plans. We know and believe that students who attend school more regularly will achieve if they have access to high quality instruction. This too will help us with our absenteeism rate. As a region, we are comprised of elementary and middle schools. Last year, I had the privilege of working with many of our high schools. It has definitely made this year more rewarding, as I now am looking differently at our 6th through 8th grade students with the focus a lot earlier on making sure that they are high school ready. The Citywide region will continue to work hard, not only for the academic gains that we are seeking, but also that we know that all of our scholars in Milwaukee Public Schools deserve a quality education. This concludes our presentation, and we will be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peterson, Director Simpson, follow. Okay, that's two people. Director Peterson, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair,
Yes.
you have Director Phillips first, and then Director Peterson, and then Director Simpson.
Oh, okay. Director Phillips.
Thank you. I just wanted to say how exciting it is to learn all about this stuff at River Trail. I was an agricultural econ major at Madison and have been following Vincent very closely, and just learning about this, I think, made my night. Thank you I love having these showcases because, you know, for those of us that aren't citywide, a lot of our focus goes into the district that we represent, and getting to learn about the amazing things happening across the city keeps me MPS proud. So thank you.
Director Simpson. Well, Director Administration, want to respond to that, or is that just a comment?
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Director Simpson.
I believe Director Peterson was first.
Whoa. we're a good family, a nice family. Director Peterson, go ahead. You.
Yes, we are a good family and a great school system when we see schools such as that. Thank you. I'll just echo the thank you and the congratulations. I do have one question. What area size, like acre size, is the forest going to be in? I'm not familiar with the total land area of your school.
We're looking, excuse me, Chair Baez,
Yes.
Director Peterson, members of the board, Superintendent Posley. We are looking at between 1.5 and 2 acres. It's all sloped and the water just runs off. So we want to stop the water and keep it on our property.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Directors Peterson, you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Simpson?
Thank you, Chair Baez. I wanted to thank the River Trail staff for the work that obviously has gone into this planning. It's clear that you've done your research and your homework and you are on a wonderful path. It was just so exciting to hear. So I appreciate the work and the time that went into this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other board member? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I was just curious with the selling the produce. That is really exciting, and I was just wondering how long, like, from planting the trees to when we would be able to see that. Like, what is the kind of, how long does that take? And if we already have ideas on who we would be selling the produce to, and maybe this is too nitpicky, but I just think that's a really exciting plan, and I just wanted to hear more about that, and I think it would be a great lesson for our students.
Sure.
Administration.
I'm going to try to add some light on that question. Chair Baez, members of the board, Superintendent Posley. A little bit depends on what size tree you put in there to start with. So a little bit depends on, the funds we have for putting them in there, what grants we're getting. We currently are working with Grape, engineering consultant firm, and they have helped us with some leads, talking with the MMSD, where potentially we could have it all dug totally for free. And we have other opportunities out there, and that's potentially for free because of how much water we'd be keeping out of the sewers, which would stop all that runoff, not all, but stop some of that runoff that goes into the lake with the MMSD. And we also have leads with other people who are potentially willing to provide us with plants at cost or cheaper. So there's many potential options with when we'll get the tree. But once they're in, it could take a couple of years. But then we look forward to having the students during that time continuing with our other projects. And then, running the marketing side of it, selling them at farmers markets and different avenues like that. Dave Zimmerman would also like to add.
Chair Baez, Director O'Halloran, members of the board, Superintendent Posley. Due to time constraints, we weren't able to present everything to you. We already have for free the skeleton for a 80-foot by 16-foot hoop house that we are planning on putting up next spring. We've already grown basil and lettuce in our hydroponics towers and have sold them. We have them growing now. Obviously, it's a little hard to sell them because kids aren't here, but we do have some products available. But we plan on, once we get the hoop houses up as well, because hoop houses are part of the vision, is we'll be growing product 10 months out of the year.
Well, thank you. Are there any other comments? Director Peterson, you had a comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Director O'Halloran, you want to follow up?
One follow-up, and this is more general. So I know we have hoop houses at Parkside and we have hydroponics at Fernwood, I believe. So is there like a work group that shares lessons, or do the students ever now that we're in a virtual environment, can we have students kind of learning together, maybe meeting and sharing their experiences, just trying to understand how we're collaborating across the district, given that our district is so large?
That is a great question, Director Halloran, Chair Baez, Director Halloran, members of the board, and Superintendent Posley. One of the parts of our plan is to, as we become a citywide school, is we would like to have our children, when everything is up and running, teaching visitors. So by the time you get to 8th grade, let's say a class from Wedgwood comes to see our system, they see everything. They see the 50 cubic yards of compost that we made from the food that wasn't eaten by our kids last year. They get to see the hoop house, they get to see the food forest, they get to see the raised beds, and our students will be teaching other students. And that's our goal. If it comes down to we're still in virtual mode, we'd be able to video it and still have the students teaching. But this is going to be student-led.
And also, Chair Baez,
Yes.
Director Allen, members of the board, and Superintendent Posley, we also want to extend it out to other districts as well, so they can take field trips to our school and have our students lead during these field trips and introduce to them additional information about our agricultural program here at River Trail School. So not only for students within MPS, but we want to extend it out to other districts as well.
And just to further add, you know, the goal is that the K-4 students maybe start with the butterfly garden, and the kindergarten students move on to, let's say, a rain garden, and then, you know, moving on to first grade, they might go to the hoop houses, and so on and so on. And by the time these students go through our school and get to 8th grade, they will be experts on all these different areas of our agriculture program, and they will be able, with firsthand knowledge, to pass on that information to other schools and other students.
Decide if they want to go to Vincent.
And then, right, exactly. And then that leads them right into high school. So they'll be ready to go and do deeper work there.
Chair Baez and members of the board, one of the things I want to also add, we have a number of schools, Milwaukee, Vincent High School they're talking about as well, Fernwood. We have a greenhouse over at Browning where they are doing some of the same kind of work. We also have, don't want to leave out North Division High School, who have started to do some of this work as well. And so what we're trying to do is to pull together a collaborative of all of those schools that are working and have hoop houses, greenhouses, aquaponic labs, and those kinds of things. So, and I forgot Holly Road as well. And there's others that I may have not mentioned tonight, but trying to pull together those school communities and teachers, as well as looking at the curriculum that's at each of those locations and share best practices as we go forward. And I also I just want to give a shout out to our outstanding team out at River Trail, to Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Zimmerman, as well as Principal Swan. Thank you for a job well done. I love to see the excitement of the great things that are happening at River Trail. So when you see that excitement, you know that excitement go to our young people. So thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome.
Other members of the board would like to echo that? Well, I would like to echo that. I want to thank River Trail. I want to thank the whole region for the good work that the region appears to be doing. And I think Dr. Hawkins, should convey to the region that members of this board have praised the good work that's happening. In particular with River Trail, I think I want to follow up on what Director O'Halloran said. Some years ago, Annenberg did a major study in Chicago and the issue of the failure problems in some Chicago schools. And they identified 3 things that were very important to them. One was the use of time in schools and how we use time and prepare people and all of that. And I'm not going to go into all of that right now. The other one was mobility, that when students move too much, it creates a problem. But the other one was isolation. And this is a very significant thing. is not just about putting up good shows of what you do for other schools, is the ability of schools to stop isolating themselves and working on projects together with other schools that are doing comparable things. So is there the possibility of looking at what other schools that are doing comparable kinds of things and developing projects where students collaborate with each other in life projects that create different kinds of things and different views of the world, so that we end the isolation of schools. We have schools that do good things together with other schools. Okay, and that is a sort of like a formula that is being used in many other places around the world, where schools work together to make things happen and transform this problem that we have of the isolation of schools. We should do it together. And I think, Director Holler, I'm not speaking for you, but I think you're also trying to get at that. Okay, how do we get students and staff to work together on things? We were trying to do that in the community college system during the whole era of studying the issue of windmills and all of that, so that throughout the state of Wisconsin, we had different community colleges working on that together and doing projects together, and the advancement was fantastic. Okay, so I want to do a shout out to you, like the superintendent did, congratulate you, and I hope that we have been able to contribute too. So, any other comments by board members?
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The Office of Board Governance did receive a message from the proud director of River Trail, Director Herndon. Would like to congratulate Principal Swan and the staff over at River Trail on the success with the virtual learning and the firm plans for the future of the River Trail Agricultural Program. So she definitely wanted to extend her congratulations and to let the River Trail family know that she is proud to be the board representing that district.
Thank you to Director Herndon for listening in. I'm sure
Thank you
she's
so very
listening in.
Yes, she is listening.
Thank you to all. Okay, any other, is there any further discussion on this issue or this item? Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. In that case, this meeting is adjourned. Good night to everybody, and hope you have a nice weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You also have a good night.
Good night, Dr. Holliday. Good night, Director Woodward.
Good night, Dr. Mann. Thank you. Thanks for recognizing my presence.
Of course.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
This is my second meeting.
Today?
This evening from 4 to 5, and you know, we have in our thing on those, you know, that city center region.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we're having it just before this meeting.
Okay.
So
well, it's good to see you.
Dental, and just been busy today.
A lot of things going on. Well, I'm glad you were able to make the meeting.
Yeah, sure, I was too. He said it pretty nice. Did you do that?
I'm sorry?
Set up the meeting for the staff?
Oh, right. Yes, definitely.
You had to do it. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you, Director Woodward. We got to log off. They're going to kick us off.
Okay, yeah, you have a good night.
You too. Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.